Hello students, and welcome to this class of Sociology of Religion. And today I'm here to explain to you a very interesting take on religion by one of the great sociologists, in fact a pioneer of sociology, and that is none other than Emile Durkheim. I have put down all the points here on the board, and I will be going one by one trying to explain this to you. As you see, Emile Durkheim was interested into this idea of social fact, and he felt that it is the social fact that is of the most important concept in the discipline of sociology, because according to him, a sociologist should be interested into the study of social fact. For him, he did a lot of studies on different aspects of societies in order to present to us as sociologists that what we could do as sociologists with the centrality of his concept of social fact. And as you see, one of the examples of social fact is religion. So he demonstrates about this in his classic work called as the Elementary Forms of Religious Life in 1912. This was published then, and as students of sociology of religion definitely will be having certain fundamental questions as to why did Durkheim undertake such a study. As you see on the board, Durkheim had two fundamental questions. The question was that how did religion come into being? Or the modern type of religion that we see, what led to its growth and development, and in a way this religion played such a vital role in people's life. It had such a dramatic impact on the social life of people that religion was, although external to people, it did add coercion to them. It did give them a meaning to their life, how they ought to be, how they ought to live their lives according to the tenets and principles of the religion. And thus, Durkheim wanted to shed light on how maybe religion evolved. The second thing was, he felt that he could get answers to this only by looking at something that was very elementary. Now, why we come to this? Because what Durkheim did, he surveyed the different world religions across the globe. He surveyed different religions of the world. We can say the world religions like Christianity and Islam and Jainism and Buddhism and some of these religions, and he found that ultimately, when you talk about the foundation of this religion, it boils down to the one singular persons of each of these religions. And therefore, it was very difficult to understand as to how the religions must have been evolved. In order to shed light on the modern religions of the world, he felt that he needed to go back to something very rudimentary, something very basic, that would shed light on the evolution of religion. So for this, he went to Australia and did a study on the tribes of Australia, the aborigines of Australia, namely by the name of the Arunta tribe. And in this tribal society, he came up with this pioneering work called as the Elementary Forms of Religious Life. It was referred to as the Elementary Forms of Religious Life because it was a basic take on basically like how the religion must have originated. And as we see here, that Durkheim came up with very interesting contributions towards understanding of religion, and he also came up with a definition on religion by providing us with certain significant elements that are present in religion, which he could discover through this tribals in Australia. Now, the type of religion that he found in Australia was referred to as totemism, which was based on the belief of an object which was given supernatural or divine properties by the tribes or the clan. And you find that in this type of an object, the different aspects of religion could be discovered. Now, some of the things that came pioneering from Durkheim from this work was that you see that the first thing, the demarcation of the sacred and the profane, is very central. He says that what he could see there in Australia among the Aborigine tribes was that there was a clear-cut distinction of what was the sacred. So the totemic object was sacred. It was set apart. It was forbidden. It was like people felt a sense of awe. People felt a sense of reverence. And when they came together in the midst of that object, they felt a force was being acted upon them. And what they depicted was a manifestation of their beliefs related to the object. So that's the sacred. And the sacred, what Durkheim felt, was something that was set apart. And people had the belief in it, and people gave it a divine representation. Whereas the profane is the normal, daily, mundane aspects of life, what we actually do without paying heed to whether it is sacred. So as simple as that. So whether you're brushing your teeth, or you're eating your food, or you're sleeping or drinking, or traveling somewhere, these are all mundane aspects of life. But the sacred is something that is set apart from the normal profane activities of life. So closely related to this concept of sacred, the sacred becomes sacred because you have the belief. Without the belief, you can't have this idea of the sacred. So I give you a classic example of a water bottle, as you will see here in my hand. Okay, we have a water in this. This water is profane. It has no sacred element to it. It is as normal as any other water. I can open it and drink it. Okay, but this water, based on your belief, can become sacred. Sacred means pavitra. And it can, based on a belief, we can assign to it divine supernatural properties. So whether we talk about the Ganga Jal, we talk about the holy water that the Christians use, and other forms of water that are used as a means of purifying, as a means of washing away our sins, or strengthening us, and so on. All these divine properties are assigned by the people's belief. And that's how this particular water here could become something sacred. Okay, so I hope you're getting this point, what I'm trying to say. And going further, we see that belief gives rise to sacred. And this belief is not based on my singular belief. It is based on the belief of the people together. So the clan in Australia, the Aborigines, it was combined together, all of them, when they believed in that object, when they all together came and they felt one, united, and this feeling of some power upon them. It's a community. It's a community that gives rise to this idea of the sacred again. And through this, you come up with a set of rules, regulations, a set of rites and rituals and practices which either tell you that how you ought to treat this divine representation, which is in the form of a plant, an animal, or a stone, or anything it could be, how we ought to be in front of it. So what we ought to do, what we can't do, at the same point of time, what we need to do to please, to satisfy this divine representation. So in the form of rituals and practices have been put forth by the community. And in a way, this gives rise to a system. So this is what Durkheim found among the Aborigines of Australia, who were practicing what he termed a religion of totemism. And the totem was nothing but an object that, which in a way combined themselves, their whole community. It was an emblem of their community, and it was an emblem of the community with divine representation to it, with supernatural powers assigned to it. What Durkheim felt was that ultimately the clan was worshipping themselves. It was society, the clan society personified in a form of the totem, and it was in the midst of the totem that they felt the divine, but rather it was in the midst of one another that they felt the sense of the divine. And this is a very significant contribution which Durkheim makes in our understanding of religion, and he also sheds light on maybe how the modern forms of religion must have evolved from such elementary, basic, rudimentary type of religion to a complex type of religion that we have today. And in a way, at the end, Durkheim has provided with a very simple and very comprehensive definition of religion, that it is a system of belief and practices made up of also rituals that has been othered by a community which forms into a system.